So this year during CES 2026, not only did I narrowly avoid getting sick, but I was also able to sneak into Hisense's booth to view all their new 2026 displays, which of course, yes, does include RGB Mini LED, but it also included new technology that goes beyond RGB and even the holy grail of display technology, micro LED. But with a twist. Now before that, I want to let you know that Hisense did sponsor this video and my coverage of CES 2026, which helps a ton with making travel possible. But all my thoughts and opinions are my own, and I'll have affiliate links to those new products in the description below as soon as they become available. But with that out of the way, let's take a look at the 3 new display technologies Hisense is making big bets on this year. First, let's start off with the one that surprised me the most. RGBC. RGBC, which will debut with the Hisense 116 UXS, a monstrous 116-inch extremely bright display, brings all the benefits of RGB technology that you might expect, including a wider color gamut, less noticeable blooming on colors, and a more advanced backlight system, but adds a little twist with the addition of cyan on top of red, green, and blue LEDs, allowing it to deliver up to 110% BT 2020 coverage, and enough to display any, and I really mean any HDR content to its absolute maximum capabilities, as long as you actually have the content to display such vibrant colors and the backlights are controlled well and don't just default back to white light under challenging scenes, something I'll be sure to put to the test when I review one later this year. Now, the U8 and U9 TVs that come in at smaller sizes, which by the way, probably going to be a little bit more interested in, because not only are they smaller sizes from 55 to 100 inches, but they'll also be coming in almost certainly at far lower and more affordable prices. Well, they'll also deliver great color coverage near 100% BT 2020. This is thanks to the switch from white LEDs to RGB, because the LEDs themselves are now producing the light. But if neither of these TVs is enough for you, well, they also brought out what display enthusiasts refer to as the end game display technology, micro LED. Now, the reason micro LED comes with such a mythical status is because it can, like an OLED, deliver infinite per pixel contrast, and unlike an OLED, it'll give you extreme brightness, making it the holy grail of display technology. And the 163MX that they are going to be debuting this on, well, it's a 163-inch 4K one they'll be launching this year. And this really threw me for a loop, as this technology on the 163MX not only consists of RGB, but this time it comes with the addition of yellow, so red, green, blue, and yellow, to once again deliver richer and more realistic color. And sure, this all sounds good, but to get a better understanding of why Hisense is adding cyan and yellow colors this year, well, I went right to the source and talked directly with a Hisense representative, so you don't have this dingus trying to translate to you as if we've been playing telephone for 30 years going straight with no end in sight.
So I'm Bruce Fairchild, and I am a product specialist here at Hisense. The most exciting thing we're bringing out this year is our 2nd generation RGB Mini LED TV. We're calling it RGB Mini LED Evo. What that means is our 1st generation RGB, we use individual red, green, and blue LEDs as opposed to a single white or blue LED. That gives us much greater color control. We can eliminate a quantum dot layer, so we can do efficiency and create better color. This year, with RGB Mini LED Evo Generation 2, we're adding a 4th color to the backlight, and that is a sky blue cyan. What that allows us to do is broaden the color spectrum between the blue and the green area to deliver greater color across that spectrum of color for the consumer, deliver Caribbean blues that are spectacularly gorgeous, sky blue that's perfect. It also allows us to do many things such as lower power consumption, because we can now only have to light up individual LEDs and not have to push more light through. So we can lower our power consumption. Another great benefit for the consumer, as these displays get much, much larger, we're introducing a 116-inch Generation 2, huge TV. So we're able to reduce harmful blue light emissions by up to 80% based on other technologies.
Which is great, because then if you're watching something late at night, you want to go to bed, well, you're probably going to get to bed a little bit quicker than if you had a traditional panel, because less of that disruptive blue light. I know I always turn my phone into the, warm mode at night,
yep.
and then I'll fall asleep watching something. But if it's not, yeah, I might kind of take a little longer to fall asleep.
So as consumers start watching larger displays for longer periods of time, because of the sky blue cyan, we're able to shift the blue spectrum out of the harmful blue light area, but still be able to deliver significantly accurate blues across that whole blue spectrum, filling that gap between standard blue and green. They're giving us much greater gradation and much better color saturation in that area.
And then I think you're saying you're going to do more than 100% BT 2020 this year. Is that on micro, or is that also going to be on the RGB Mini LED?
That'll be on the RGB Mini LED Evo.
Okay.
Because of the fourth color, now we can expand that cyan area, the green to blue and cyan transition, out beyond the 2020 frame. So expanding that even further than that.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. And then you were saying, so we do have the cyan addition to the RGB Mini, but then we also have a little bit back there, and I'll show some footage for everyone,
Yep.
the micro RGB. And I have a few questions about that. Everyone's always excited about micro RGB.
Sure.
They just don't want to show up to the table with $100,000, of course. But listen, it's time to stop pinching pennies. In any case, so that one you're saying you're adding, instead of the cyan, the yellow color.
Yes,
So
yes.
how exactly does that work, I guess, in the most simple terms? And, what can we expect to see in terms of benefits from that?
Sure. The reason we're doing that is that the technologies are slightly different. Micro LED, true micro LED, is a true pixel level display. So each of the subpixels, the red, green, and blue, currently make up a pixel, and there's a full array of those for up to 28 million subpixels in today's RGB. Now we can make over 33 million subpixels by adding that fourth color, yellow, because we can control each of the lights independently, fully on or fully off. So as we know, micro LED has the ability to deliver infinite contrast, because we can shut this off very similar to OLED. Only the benefits that we have is there's no chance of burn-in because it's an inorganic light, tens of thousands of hours of use. The benefits of adding yellow is that the yellow is perceived as a very bright color to the human eye. It stands at the top of the spectrum, but you typically don't get the true gradation that you want, because we're trying to create yellow from an RGB. So now with the pure yellow LED, micro LED, we can create a much greater palette of color within that mid-tone area, burnt oranges from the sunset, golds of the princess, whatever it might be. We can create a much greater range within that highly sensitive area, so that the perception of color within the yellow area and those mid-tones is greatly enhanced.
Okay, and then for your TVs, are you sticking to 165 hertz, or are you moving some of them to like 180 hertz beyond, or?
So absolutely. So with our new Gen 2 RGB Mini LED Evo, we're getting to 180 hertz native and 180 hertz game mode.
And that's gonna be like at 4K resolution, right?
That'll be a 4K resolution. Okay. In addition, you can reduce that to a 1080 for gaming and get to 330.
Okay, are we gonna be using the same panels on 65 all the way to 98, or are there gonna be different panels for different TV sizes this year?
Well, we take a panel and we align it to a certain series. Generally, we pick panels based on what we think the best application for the size is. And so we have different configurations across different series.
Okay, but I guess, will there be improvements to the motion performance on RGB Mini LED as well? Has that been something that's been worked on?
Yes, absolutely. We're always concerned about motion control, particularly as these displays get larger. So we're now using our HiView AI Engine RGB Gen 2. So improved processing power this year for RGB TV and for micro LED TV. So our processing is significantly improving over last year for better motion control and also better control of color. Because now, again, we have to do 4 colors in our Mini LED RGB. So processing power is expanding for us. It's critical. You can think about how much processing power required to control either micro LED subpixel or 4-color backlight required not just one backlight, but 4 colors, so the processing power required, and that also will help us with motion, color crosstalk, that type of thing.
Okay, yeah, and so I know there's been a lot of talk of, you know, RGB Mini LED potentially having to reduce the zone counts in order to get this to work, I guess. Are you going to be trying to keep the same zone counts, increasing zone counts, or what exactly should we expect out of these TVs this year?
Yeah, so Gen 2 RGB Mini LED Evo, tens of thousands of zones, but we can't talk about zones in the traditional thought process of dimming, because that is just light dimming, up or down brightness. What we do is synchronize using the HiView AI Engine RGB, the new processor. We synchronize between color dimming and brightness dimming. So we can dim both color and brightness simultaneously across each individual LED.
Okay, and if you were to say, in terms of light dimming specifically, would you say same, less, or more zones should we expect out of RGB?
I think you're going to see, we'll have the same number of zones roughly that we do in our first generation. But again, it's a very difficult way to explain that we're not just dimming light. So we can control both the hue and saturation of each color as well as their brightness. So it's really not apples to apples looking at a dimming zone perspective, but because we're doing color dimming, it becomes, the algorithms become much, much more greater and complex.
Okay, yeah. And then I guess getting back to micro LED, I forgot to ask, are we going to start to see micro LED at some point? I know everyone's going to beg to, you know, ask this question. At some point, are we going to see it at affordable prices of under $10,000 soon-ish? Are we going to see it under 100 inches? In a single panel, not modules? Is that something that's even on the table, or is that kind of like maybe really far off?
Certainly that's the ultimate goal. We are investing in micro LED, and the goal is to bring these down from an affordability standpoint into screen sizes that are more affordable and that will fit in more consumers' homes. So that is the ultimate goal.
Okay, yeah, cool. All right, well, thank you so much for answering those questions.
Sure, Connor.
I'll be sure to ask you some more via email, I'm sure, and I'll see you at the next event. But yeah, thank you so much, and see you guys in the next video.
Thank you.
So hopefully that helped explain why. But that's not all Hisense had to show at this event. No, they bombarded me with a ton of other products. And one other one was the XR10 projector, which claims to offer a high quality RGB triple laser light capable of 6,000 ANSI lumens, a brightness, and an adjustable iris that can put out a 6,000 to 1 contrast ratio. And of course, they also had a plethora of other devices on display. But for me, definitely the most interesting was the 116 UXS, as every year the UX offers the best of what Hisense has to offer, and typically a glance of what may come in the future. And so who knows, maybe next year 110% BT 2020 coverage may come to the U9 or U8 class TVs. But regardless, let me know in the comments below which display technology you're looking forward to most, and stay tuned for all my other CES coverage coming very soon.